There is a moment every gardener knows. A tomato plant at the edge of the yard, its leaves gone the color of old paper, the stems sagging toward the ground, the flowers that opened last week already closed for good, and almost everyone does the same thing. They reach for the shovel, they pull the plant out, and they tell themselves there was nothing to be done. But here is what soil scientists who study the exact moment a plant begins to die have found, and what the Amish and Mennonite farmers of Lancaster County have known for 200 years. In almost every case, the plant is not finished. It is starving. It has run out of one or two specific nutrients the soil can no longer hand it. And every one of those nutrients can be delivered to the roots in as little as 48 hours, using 5 things already sitting in the average American kitchen. 5 free liquids. The Amish have used versions of all of them for generations, long before there was a fertilizer aisle to walk down. University soil labs have measured them, and the lawn and garden industry has quietly let them disappear from the conversation for one simple reason. There is no profit in a banana peel. You cannot patent it. You cannot print a logo on it. You cannot charge $9 a box for a thing your neighbor throws in the trash every morning. So it vanished from the advice, not because it stopped working, but because nobody could sell it. Let me walk you through all 5, what each one actually does inside the plant, and the one mistake that keeps most people from ever seeing them work. The first one is onion peel water. Here's a question worth sitting with. Which part of the onion holds more potassium? The white bulb that goes in the soup, or the dry brown skin you peel off and throw away? It is the skin. Those papery outer layers carry one of the most concentrated doses of potassium, calcium, magnesium, and iron found anywhere in the produce aisle, plus a compound called quercetin that quietly switches on the plant's own immune defenses. Now here is where most people go wrong. They hear onion peels and they dig the dry skins straight into the soil, waiting for them to rot down and feed the roots. That works, but it takes weeks, which the dying plant does not have. The trick the Amish understood is water. The same way a tea bag bleeds color into a hot cup, an onion skin releases its minerals into a jar of cool water in 24 to 48 hours. A handful of skins, a quart jar, tap water. By the second day, the water is the color of deep amber, and every one of those minerals is now in a form the roots can drink immediately. Poured at the base of a yellowing tomato, the stems thicken, the new leaves come in darker, and flowering picks back up within a week. The second liquid is fermented rice water. The cloudy water you pour down the drain after rinsing a pot of rice is one of the most powerful soil treatments ever put under a microscope. Fresh, it carries starches, B vitamins, and trace iron. But the real transformation happens a few days later, after the water has sat covered at room temperature and taken on a faint sour smell, like the first hint of sourdough. Most people would pour it out at that stage. That sour smell is the whole point. It is the signature of a microbial bloom. The same beneficial bacteria and wild yeasts that commercial soil products sell for a premium are growing in your jar for free. This liquid does not feed the plant directly. It feeds the billions of invisible workers in the top inch of soil that feed the plant. It is the difference between handing someone a single meal and handing them a working kitchen. The common mistake is using it fresh. Fresh rice water barely does anything. It must ferment for 3 to 5 days, and it must be diluted, roughly 1 part rice water to 10 parts plain water, before it touches the soil. Skipping the fermentation is the single biggest reason people try this once, see nothing, and never try it again. The third liquid is vegetable scrap water. Every refrigerator in America has the forgotten tomato at the back of the drawer. the wilted lettuce, the bruised cucumber. For most households, those go in the trash. For the gardener who knows, they are the fastest acting nitrogen source you can make at home, and nitrogen is almost always the missing piece. A plant can have plenty of potassium and phosphorus, but if it is short on nitrogen, its growth simply stops at the nitrogen line, no matter how rich the rest of the soil is. Green kitchen scraps are nitrogen in disguise. Crush them into a bucket, cover with water, weigh them down with a plate, and let them ferment for 2 weeks. Bacteria break the plant cells apart and pull the nitrogen out into the water far faster than any compost pile would. The finished liquid is dark, cloudy, and strong-smelling. That smell is the proof it is ready. Diluted heavily, roughly 1 part scrap water to 30 parts fresh water, it goes onto the soil at the base of the plant. And within 4 to 6 days, pale, tired leaves deepen 2 full shades of green. The mistake that burns more gardens than any other is pouring it on undiluted or spraying it on the leaves. It is strong enough to scorch leaves on contact and burn root hairs. Soil only, diluted, never on the leaves. The fourth one is the full-spectrum kitchen brew. Most collapsing plants are not missing one nutrient. They are short on 5 or 6 at once. So the Amish answer was never a single ingredient. It was a recipe, and each piece does a specific job. Banana peels bring potassium, which drives flowering and fruiting. Crushed eggshells bring calcium, the building block of cell walls, and the cure for that black sunken patch on the bottom of a tomato called blossom end rot. Used coffee grounds add slow nitrogen and loosen the soil. Here is a myth worth killing. Used grounds are not strongly acidic. Fresh grounds are. Spent grounds out of the filter sit right around neutral, almost exactly where a vegetable garden wants to be. A tablespoon of Epsom salt adds magnesium, the atom at the dead center of every chlorophyll molecule, which is why a magnesium-starved leaf yellows between the veins, while the veins themselves stay green. And the secret ingredient is a tablespoon of blackstrap molasses, not for the plant, but for the microbes. Molasses is a dinner bell. The bacteria in the brew multiply within hours and tear the peels, shells, and grounds apart far faster than they would alone. A brew without molasses takes 3 weeks to be useful. A brew with it is ready in 3 days. All of it steeps in about a gallon of warm water for 3 to 5 days. The common mistake is skipping the molasses, which turns an overnight rescue back into a slow drip. The fifth and final liquid is manure tea. The giant tea bag. This is the oldest method on the list, older than coffee or bananas in an American kitchen. Before synthetic fertilizer existed, every farm on Earth ran on 2 things: compost and manure. The Amish still do. And among the old farmers of the Pennsylvania countryside, manure tea has a nickname: the giant tea bag. A shovelful of aged, dried manure, never fresh, goes into a porous sack, an old pillowcase or a feed bag. The sack is tied and dropped into a 5-gallon bucket of water for 3 to 5 days. The water draws out the nitrogen, the phosphorus, the potassium, and the trace minerals, while the solids stay safely inside the bag so it will not burn the bed or carry weed seeds. Aged chicken manure is the strongest. Cow manure is gentler and better for long-term soil structure. Rabbit manure is the quiet favorite, mild enough to use even around seedlings. The mistake that kills the most gardens is using fresh manure. Fresh droppings carry too much ammonia and will scorch a whole row of seedlings in 48 hours. It must be aged, 6 months to a year. Then dilute the finished tea down to the color of weak iced tea, about 1 part tea to 10 parts water, and pour it at the root zone in the cool of early morning or evening when the soil holds the nutrients instead of letting them evaporate off in the midday heat. So there it is. 5 liquids: onion peel water, fermented rice water, vegetable scrap water, the kitchen brew, and aged manure tea. Each one solves a different problem. Each one costs nothing. Each one begins to work within a week, and some within 2 days. What ties them together is the principle underneath them, the one the Amish never forgot. The things a modern kitchen calls waste are, in almost every case, the exact inputs a garden needs to come back to life. The gardener who understands this has a supply of fertilizer that will never run out, never raise its price, and never carry a warning label. So the next time a tomato starts to yellow, or a pepper stops setting fruit, pause before you reach for the shovel. The cure is very likely already sitting in your trash can. If any of these 5 rings true, tell me down in the comments which one you will try first. And keep the old knowledge alive. Because every kitchen that turns its scraps back into the soil is holding on to something worth saving. Happy gardening.